More than 30 Russian armored vehicles destroyed within 48 hours along a single stretch of front line in southern Donetsk. A loss severe enough that Western defense analysts have described it as one of the most lopsided ambushes of the entire war. Satellite imagery and combat footage show Ukrainian Leopard 2 and T-64 tanks operating in direct coordination with reconnaissance drones, striking from concealed positions with precision that hit Russian armor exactly where its crews could not see the threat coming. This is the story of what happened when Moscow tried to force a breakthrough with raw mechanized numbers, and what Ukrainian forces did with a combination of terrain, minefields, and an unbroken chain of aerial surveillance that turned the attack into something closer to a controlled demolition. The fighting erupted along the southern rim of Donetsk, where Russian forces concentrated heavy mechanized units with a specific operational objective: punch through Ukrainian defensive lines, seize critical road junctions, and drive toward supply hubs that would allow Moscow to threaten the logistics supporting an entire sector of the front. The plan depended on a calculation that has defined much of Russia's offensive doctrine throughout this war: that sufficient mass, applied with enough force at a single point, would overwhelm whatever defensive preparation Ukrainian forces had managed to construct. Ukrainian commanders, having identified the buildup through weeks of reconnaissance, prepared a defense built around two complementary principles: concentrated firepower positioned with maximum tactical advantage, and continuous aerial observation that would eliminate the element of surprise Russian forces were counting on. Leopard 2 tanks from Ukraine's 33rd Brigade took up concealed positions behind low tree lines, their 120mm main guns ready to engage at the optimal range. T-64 crews from the 47th Brigade occupied shallow defensive positions, loaded with high-explosive ammunition for close-range engagements. Bradley fighting vehicles moved into supporting positions, their 25mm chain guns and TOW missile systems oriented toward likely approach routes. None of these platforms were operating independently. Above the entire defensive sector, reconnaissance drones maintained continuous overlapping orbits, feeding live video directly to command posts and creating a surveillance web capable of detecting enemy movement from kilometers away, long before any Russian vehicle came within visual range of a Ukrainian gunner. Russian reconnaissance elements advanced first, a dozen BTR armored personnel carriers probing the defensive line, carrying infantry forward to identify Ukrainian positions before the main assault. The drones caught the movement immediately, relaying precise grid coordinates to artillery units within seconds. The response was immediate. Artillery fire destroyed the lead vehicles and forced the remainder of the reconnaissance element to scatter, eliminating any possibility that Russian commanders would receive an accurate picture of what they were about to send their main force into. When the primary armored column advanced, more than 80 vehicles including T-80 tanks and BMP infantry fighting vehicles, the trap that Ukrainian forces had spent weeks preparing closed completely. A Leopard 2 crew, positioned behind the ruins of a destroyed farmhouse, waited for the optimal engagement angle. When the lead Russian tank crested a low rise in the terrain, directly into the Leopard's prepared firing position, the crew fired a single round that penetrated the turret's side armor and ignited the fuel storage in a detonation visible across the entire battlefield. Surviving crew members who bailed out of the burning vehicle were met by machine gun fire from supporting Bradley positions. Elsewhere along the line, a T-64 concealed in a brush-lined gully identified a BMP attempting to flank the Ukrainian position from the left. 2 rounds later, the vehicle was disabled and overturned directly in the path of the column behind it, creating an obstacle that further disrupted the Russian formation's cohesion. Ukrainian artillery spotters, working from the same drone feeds that were guiding the tank crews, called in cluster munition strikes against Russian infantry as they dismounted from disabled vehicles to continue the advance on foot. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense confirmed the scale of the engagement, with media reporting from October 2025 indicating that Russia committed more than 50 pieces of armor during this single push, ranging from MTLB armored transports carrying ammunition to MT-12 anti-tank guns towed into supporting positions, and lost approximately 20 vehicles within a single day of fighting. The advance stalled completely roughly 500 yards from the tree line, that marked the edge of the prepared Ukrainian defensive zone. Dense minefields, laid weeks in advance with anti-tank mines and pressure-sensitive detonation systems, claimed 3 vehicles in the opening minutes of the column's approach. Tires were destroyed. Tracks were severed. Engines stalled under the combined pressure of mine damage and direct fire. Ukrainian engineers had prepared the approach with TM-89 anti-tank mines specifically designed to shred the underbellies of armored vehicles, forcing survivors to abandon their equipment and continue on foot through territory that offered no cover from the surveillance network above. The strategic objective behind this defensive preparation was clear: prevent the Russian armored column from reaching the outskirts of Volodar, a town whose roads connected directly to Kramatorsk and the broader logistics network supporting the Eastern Front. A successful Russian breakthrough at this point would have cut supply lines feeding 3 separate Ukrainian brigades and opened a 10-mile gap in the defensive line that would have taken weeks to restabilize. Leopard gunners deliberately held their fire, waiting for drone operators to identify the optimal engagement window rather than firing at the first available target. One Bradley crew executed a reverse maneuver under smoke cover, then emerged to engage a straggling T-72 at 1,800 yards with a wire-guided tow missile that struck with enough force to send flames 30 feet into the air, further compressing the Russian formation into an increasingly vulnerable cluster of vehicles. Drivers attempting evasive maneuvers swerved into ditches or, in several documented cases, reversed directly into their own following vehicles. Infantry that dismounted to escape the armor were pinned by Bradley suppressive fire, their rocket-propelled grenades falling short in rain-softened ground that limited their effective range. The defensive architecture that made this engagement possible was built around a continuous surveillance loop. Reconnaissance drones launching from rear positions climbed to approximately 1,500 feet, their high-definition cameras scanning wide sectors of the approach terrain, while operators in secure command positions monitored real-time feeds. The moment Russian vehicles crossed predetermined trigger lines on the surveillance grid, targeting data reached Ukrainian tank crews in under 5 seconds. Coordinates and range information displayed directly on gunner sights, compressing what would traditionally be a multi-minute targeting process into something closer to instantaneous engagement. The system demonstrated its effectiveness repeatedly throughout the engagement. When a Russian anti-tank team deployed a Kornet missile launcher at the edge of a tree line, the heat signature from the missile tube ignition was detected by infrared sensors on an overhead drone before the missile even launched. The alert reached a nearby Leopard crew with enough lead time for the tank to reposition behind concrete rubble, allowing the incoming missile to detonate harmlessly against a tree rather than the intended target. That warning, delivered in a fraction of a second by the surveillance network, preserved 3 crews and allowed the Ukrainian position to redirect fire back toward the launch site before the Russian anti-tank team could relocate. Russian anti-tank teams attempted to change the trajectory of the engagement using Kornet and Conqueror's guided missile systems fired from concealed forest positions. The results illustrated a broader problem that has affected Russian precision-guided munitions throughout the conflict. U.S. officials reported in 2023 that Russian cruise missile failure rates had reached as high as 60% across various platforms, with failures ranging from launch malfunctions to guidance system errors that sent weapons off their intended trajectories entirely. The same pattern repeated throughout this engagement. A Kornet crew positioned near a cluster of pine trees acquired a Bradley silhouette at 2,500 meters and launched, but the wire-guided missile dipped below its intended flight path and detonated against a fallen log 300 meters short of the target. Another launch, aimed at a Leopard position visible through battlefield rubble, climbed too steeply before diving into soft ground well short of impact. Ukrainian crews maintained a consistent advantage through the combination of drone-delivered early warning, rapid smoke deployment, and aggressive repositioning that denied Russian operators the steady target lock their wire-guided systems required. A Leopard commander, alerted by the warning tone in his headset moments before an incoming missile, deployed smoke canisters and repositioned the vehicle behind cover within seconds, timing that placed the tank completely out of the missile's flight path by the moment of detonation. Statistics compiled from the 47th Brigade's engagement logs documented numerous Kornet and Conqueror's launches during a single afternoon of fighting, with only a small fraction landing within 50 meters of any Ukrainian vehicle and an even smaller number causing damage significant enough to require more than overnight field repairs. The final phase of the engagement belonged to a weapons system that has fundamentally changed the economics of armored warfare in this conflict. FPV drones, small, pilot-controlled aircraft launched from portable racks positioned just behind the front line, moved in to finish off Russian vehicles that had been damaged or immobilized but not yet destroyed, targeting engine compartments and crew hatches to prevent recovery or continued resistance. A damaged T-80 attempting to retreat under smoke was struck in the rear engine grille by an FPV drone, the resulting explosion rupturing fuel lines and leaving the tank disabled in a roadside ditch. A BMP with a jammed turret, attempting to reverse out of the engagement zone, was struck by two coordinated FPV drones in sequence, the first impacting the driver's viewport, the second penetrating the thin roof armor and igniting stored ammunition in a secondary explosion that lifted the vehicle's hull off the ground. The cost differential involved in this exchange illustrates why FPV drones have become the decisive weapon system of this phase of the war. Ukraine produces these systems for approximately $500 per unit, including the airframe, battery, camera, and shape-charge warhead. A Russian T-90M, by comparison, costs more than $4 million to produce. Brigade records from October 2025 documented 43 confirmed vehicle kills attributed to FPV drones alone within the Donetsk engagement zone, with 28 resulting in total losses and 15 leaving vehicles immobilized for later recovery. Newer FPV models have transitioned from radio control links, which remain vulnerable to electronic jamming, to fiber optic cable guidance systems that are functionally immune to the electronic warfare countermeasures Russian forces have deployed throughout the conflict.